Why are so many of the worst boat crashes ever filmed almost always avoidable? Bad weather, sure, but the real culprit shows up again and again in the news reports. Too much speed, too much alcohol, too little training, and a strange belief that water is somehow safer than a road. Today, we are looking at 16 catastrophic crashes caught on camera. Every one of them real, stupid, and the last one will make you check your kill cord. On the 24th of August 2012, a fountain powerboat carrying 7 passengers near the 22-mile marker on Missouri's Lake of the Ozarks hit a wake from another boat at an estimated 70 miles per hour, with one source on board claiming the throttle was pushed flat moments before impact. The footage, filmed by a Lake TV cameraman riding along, became one of the most watched boating videos on the internet, racking up over 1 million views within days and climbing well past 2 million in the weeks after. Police reported all 7 boaters were injured and 5 were taken to hospital with minor to moderate injuries. The youngest of them tossed around like loose cargo in the cockpit. Driver Marvin Carter, 48 at the time, was cited for careless and imprudent operation, and a separate seating violation was added once the footage went public. The avoidable lesson is simple. You do not push a powerboat that hard in crowded water with anyone unbelted in an open cockpit, full stop. A wake on Lake of the Ozarks at speed is not water. It is a wall built out of someone else's good time, and the moment you hit it, physics stops caring whose birthday it is. So that was the wake hit. Now to a quiet Canadian lake and a collision nobody saw coming. Just after 7 in the evening on the 8th of June 2019, 2 boats collided at speed on Osoyoos Lake in British Columbia. A nearby homeowner, Joe Lovas, had his lakefront surveillance camera running, and the footage captured one of the clearest examples ever recorded of a closing collision. Neither boat avoided in time. 2 men were killed, a 35-year-old from Kamloops and a 36-year-old from Maple Ridge, and 3 more people were seriously injured. The video showed both boats opening up the throttle on near converging paths, with neither side altering course. As the witness later said, he kept thinking, who is going to move? And then they did not. This case is a textbook study in something boating instructors call risk of collision, the legal duty for both vessels to alter course early when there is any doubt. The avoidable lesson is brutal. On open water without lane markings, both skippers are responsible for not hitting each other, and assuming the other boat will turn is how people die. Now, from open water to a marina, where most people assume nothing too dramatic can happen. On the 10th of March 2022 in Newport Beach, a man stole a 60-foot yacht that had been left at a dock for maintenance with the keys inside, and what followed was a 10-minute chase across the harbor that ended with the yacht hitting 2 other boats and a seawall. Police arrested Joel Siam, 38, of San Diego, and held him on $3 million bail. Aboard one of the boats he hit, a docked sailboat, was a woman named Deborah Dolly. As she told the local news, the entire starboard side came crashing in on her, and it did not stop. It came once, twice, 3 times. Her sailboat's mast was knocked down. Its owner said the boat had only been bought new that August, intended for a charter business, and that a half bottle of tequila from inside was now gone. A small detail that probably explains most of what went wrong. $3 million in bail for a yacht thief who paid himself in tequila is a very modern American sentence. The avoidable lesson is mundane. Take the keys when you leave the boat, especially if you have also left the tequila. At Marina in Cairns, Australia, just after 6 in the evening on the 10th of August 2019, a luxury superyacht named Moatize suffered a mechanical fault while trying to dock and slammed straight into the marina gangway. The footage, filmed by patrons at a nearby restaurant boat called Prawn Star, captured both the impact and the panic, with one customer later saying it had felt like a scene from the film Speed 2. Diners were screaming. 60 people were aboard the Prawn Star at full capacity, and the trawler was very narrowly missed, which is a sentence that has never previously appeared in any travel review of Cairns. Nobody was hurt, which was genuinely lucky given the size of the yacht and the crowd, but the incident triggered a full investigation by the port operator and prompted public questions about how a yacht losing control inside a busy commercial marina could be considered a routine docking error. The avoidable lesson here is structural. Modern super yachts often dock partly on bow thrusters and pod drives. If those systems fail and the captain has no rehearsed backup plan, a multi-million-dollar machine becomes a battering ram. So Australia had its docking drama. Florida, naturally, supplied a bigger one with a bigger price tag. In December 2024, a luxury yacht in Aventura, Florida, lost power and set off a chain reaction caught on dock cameras and witness phones. It hit another yacht, then a smaller boat, then the dock itself, with the local news reporting the damage at hundreds of thousands of dollars. The dramatic part for the editor and the viewer was the sheer slow-motion inevitability. A boat without engines on a busy waterfront does not stop in time, and the wind and current have an almost spiritual instinct for carrying it straight into whatever is most expensive within 100 feet. The avoidable lesson is preventative. Boats that rely heavily on electronic engine controls need a documented procedure for total power loss while underway, and operators in tight waterways should know how to use anchor releases or even drop a stern line onto a piling if it means stopping 10 feet short of $500,000 of damage. None of that is in the standard charter checklist. Now, from a yacht with no power to one whose captain deliberately chose what to crash into. A super yacht caught on camera in early 2026 was filmed colliding with a dock multiple times, and the explanation that emerged was unexpectedly grim. According to the captain, the vessel had lost power and steering, and his choice was to use the bow thrusters to steer the boat into the dock instead of letting it drift onto a rocky shoal and the supports of a bridge nearby. Read in cold daylight, that is a person picking the least bad collision available, the marine equivalent of choosing which wall to crash a car into. The dock lost, while the yacht and probably everyone aboard were saved from a far worse impact. When asked online why the engines were not simply killed, the original poster explained the captain had lost all controls in both the bridge and engine room, with no working kill switch reachable. The avoidable lesson is one most leisure skippers do not think about. A redundant, mechanically independent emergency stop is not a luxury item. It is the only thing that lets you decide between a collision you choose and a collision that simply happens to you. In late May 2026, a boat in Fort Lauderdale appeared to attempt a U-turn near the dock behind a busy restaurant, then accelerated, slammed into one vessel, plowed into the Marina dock, and struck a second vessel before finally coming to a stop. The EarthCam camera mounted at the Marina captured everything. 2 people were sent to hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. The dock footage showed a man being thrown bodily from a nearby boat onto the concrete as families with children stood only feet away. Officials confirmed the EarthCam recording would be reviewed as part of the investigation. The avoidable lesson is operator side. By every normal logic of docking, the boat should have been slowing down, but it clearly accelerated. Whether the cause was a stuck throttle, a panicked driver, or a medical incident, the result was a vessel turned into a missile in front of a crowd, which is approximately the precise opposite of the experience advertised on the restaurant's outdoor seating brochure. No wake zones exist for exactly this reason. Now, from a marina to the sober reminder that being inside a fast boat is not always the safe option. Just before 5 in the afternoon on the 1st of May 2025, a 21-year-old operator near the Steilacoom ferry dock in Washington state was the sole person aboard a fast-moving boat that began turning in erratic circles. Surveillance footage and witness video, later released by the Pierce County Sheriff's Office, showed the operator appearing unconscious behind the wheel. The boat very nearly hit a moving ferry, turned and almost struck a second one, then slammed into the rocky causeway and ejected the operator into the water. Shocked awake by cold Pacific Northwest water, he was filmed swimming to shore and clambering up the rocks, where Pierce County police were waiting with handcuffs and questions. The likely cause was straightforward: alcohol and boating, an enduring partnership the United States Coast Guard cites in roughly 1/5 of all recreational boating fatalities every year. The avoidable lesson is the one everyone hears and many ignore. Alcohol on the water hits harder than it does on land because sun, wind, and motion all multiply its effect. So one drunk driver got lucky. The next case shows what happens when nobody is at the wheel at all. 3 men were doing what they described as a photo shoot aboard a 24-foot boat on the St. Lucie River, just south of the Stewart Causeway, when all 3 of them somehow ended up in the water. The official explanation has never quite recovered from the word somehow. Their boat carried on without them, and the Martin County Sheriff's Office aerial unit caught the entire sequence from above. The unmanned vessel began circling the three swimmers, forcing them to dive underwater repeatedly to avoid being run over by their own boat. Eventually, the throttle settled and the boat straightened out, then accelerated at high speed toward a concrete dock on St. Lucie Boulevard, where it hit, went fully airborne over the dock, and crash-landed on a second dock beyond it. Nobody was hurt somehow. The avoidable lesson is one piece of equipment that costs about $10. A kill cord clipped to the driver's wrist or life jacket stops the engine instantly if the driver leaves the helm, which is precisely the situation those three men found themselves in. Near Crandon Park, Marina off Key Biscayne, around 10:20 on a Saturday morning, a twin-engine center console called a CVZ was filmed by another captain spinning in tight, uncontrolled circles with nobody aboard. Both people who had been on it were in the water, struck by the boat's propellers. The woman, 33-year-old Claudia Balmazeda Orelanes, did not survive. A jet ski rider found the two of them floating in the water and called for help, and the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission opened the investigation. Nixon Beach Sandbar is one of the busiest weekend boating spots in Biscayne Bay, and the cause of the initial ejection, the moment that left a powerful boat circling unattended, remains under investigation. The avoidable lesson is exactly the same as the Stewart case, and the same as a dozen other unmanned boat disasters every year. It comes down to one piece of kit, the kill cord, a device that stops the engine the moment the operator leaves the helm, not an optional accessory. Now, from a tragedy to a textbook case of how not to dock under sail. A 32-foot boat carrying 13 people left Crandon Park early one Sunday, and on the way back to the marina, the driver made a sharp turn toward the inlet, running aground on a sandbar at speed. The stop was so sudden, one woman was launched right out of the boat into the air, while another slammed face first into the center console. Florida Fish and Wildlife described what happened as classic, which is officer language for happens all the time. The driver was operating in an area where high throttle was allowed, but the turn was sharper than the conditions could absorb, and the moment the hull touched bottom, the boat stopped dead while the passengers kept going. One passenger was airlifted to hospital, another broke her arm. The avoidable lesson is that knowing local water is not optional. Sandbars shift after storms, depths change with tide, and a turn that worked fine last month can be a wall this month. Local charts and a slow look at the water before you commit are the cheapest insurance available. So Florida supplied another lesson. Then the haul-over sandbar produced something genuinely shocking. Around 20 to 1 in the afternoon on the 9th of May 2026, a 40-foot cabin cruiser called Naughty Neighbors, registered in Sherman, Texas, was at the haul-over sandbar near Bal Harbour, Florida on a Mother's Day weekend outing. Witnesses described seeing 3 people fly out of the boat as it apparently exploded. 11 people were sent to hospital. Miami-Dade Fire Rescue upgraded the call to a Level 2 mass casualty incident as more than 25 response units arrived. Witness video showed survivors with burns hopping from boat to reach land because there were not enough stretchers and not enough pain medication on scene. One eyewitness described the burns clearly, saying the fire was hot and quick because high-octane gasoline burns that way. The cause is officially still under investigation, but cabin cruiser explosions almost always trace to a single source: petrol vapor that has accumulated in the bilge or engine compartment, ignited by a spark when the engine is started or restarted. The avoidable lesson is older than fiberglass boats. Run the blower for at least 4 minutes before starting a petrol-powered cabin cruiser, every time, without exception. It is the most boring instruction in marine ownership, and the one that quietly prevents the most catastrophic outcome on this entire list. Around 9 in the evening, one Sunday near the Clearwater Memorial Bridge, a recreational boat collided with a ferry carrying more than 40 passengers. 1 person died, 12 were injured, and the driver of the recreational boat then fled the scene before police caught up with him later. The damaged ferry drifted to a stop on a sandbar near the bridge, while emergency crews moved in to treat the injured, and the Coast Guard and Florida Fish and Wildlife opened a joint investigation. 2 lessons sit inside this case. First, the obvious one about hit and run, which on the water carries criminal charges charges in most jurisdictions for exactly the same reason it does on the road. The second is quieter. Big ferries lit up at night are easy to see, and a recreational boat hitting one usually means the smaller skipper was either not watching, was distracted, or was operating impaired. The avoidable lesson is that a working watch from the helm is non-negotiable, and at night it matters more, not less. Now, from a hit and run to a different kind of disaster, the kind that comes with no warning at all. This case is from the offshore racing world and dates back decades, but it remains one of the most studied destruction of the boat cases on record. The Carr brothers of Australia bought the 32-foot carry that Don Arano had originally raced as the Cigarette, the boat that gave the entire brand its name. They were both killed while racing it. The hull bounced through later owners and was eventually patched up enough that a builder used it as a plug for a new 36-foot mold. Once the mold was off, what remained of the Cigarette was destroyed. A sad fate for one of the most historically important powerboats ever built, and a reminder that boats, unlike paintings, do not always end up in museums. The lesson the offshore racing community took from the car deaths over the years is brutal but practical. 50 knots in open ocean is unforgiving. Capsule cockpits with full restraints save lives, and an unbelted crew in a fast boat is, statistically, the most common contributor to a fatal outcome. So racers learned hard lessons. The next entry shows what happens when a storm hits a yacht at anchor. Just before 5 in the morning on the 19th of August 2024, the 184-foot luxury sailing yacht Bayesian, anchored off the port of Porticello in Sicily, was hit by a sudden and violent storm and sank within minutes in around 164 feet of water. 7 people died, including the British tech entrepreneur Mike Lynch and his teenage daughter. This was not strictly a crash, but it was a catastrophic sinking witnessed by other vessels in the anchorage and tracked in coastal radar and weather records. Investigators have focused on the boat's stability profile with a single, very tall mast, around 237 feet of it, and on whether watertight openings were fully secured for the weather conditions forecast. The avoidable lessons are still being argued in court, but the broad ones are already clear. A waterspout is essentially a tornado on water, and any vessel sitting at anchor in convective weather should have the crew on full alert with the engines warm, escape gear ready, and watertight doors closed. Now the final entry, the one that exists for a single reason: to remind everyone how casually these stories begin. On Saturday, the 5th of July 2025, on Lake of the Ozarks, a family pontoon boat capsized and threw everyone aboard into the water. The story circulated through local Missouri news for a few days before disappearing under the next weekend's incidents, the way most of these cases now do. Lake of the Ozarks alone logs an extraordinary year-round catalogue of incidents: powerboat barrel rolls, marina explosions, jet ski collisions, late-night groundings, hit-and-run sinkings, drownings, tubing accidents. The lesson the data keeps repeating is the dullest one in boating. Most of these crashes did not involve unlikely mechanical failures or freak weather. They involved a boat going too fast, a driver not paying enough attention, or a vessel rated for 10 people carrying 15. Water punishes ordinary mistakes far harder than most people expect, and the most catastrophic crashes caught on camera are very often just average mistakes filmed on a particularly bad day. The boats are not the problem. They are doing exactly what physics, the manufacturer, and the throttle have all asked of them.